I can see it. Now
Nice.
we're live.
We're live now.
There
Great.
we go.
Awesome.
Hey, everyone. Oh, there we go. Wow, Kenya. Check it out. Lavette from Kenya.
Philippines, awesome. Kenya's really far. That's crazy. Welcome. I don't know how you found us, but I'm glad you're here. You've made it. This is the place.
We were trying to work out earlier, like what time. Hey, New Zealand. Nice work.
Nice. Welcome.
We're a bit late for you. Sorry. It's 10 o'clock, I guess. Yeah, we've been trying to work out the right timing to, make this accessible to as many neighbors as possible.
Ooh.
Barcelona, though.
Wow, this is wild. This is really wild.
Oh, that's good. You must be a night owl, Fiona.
I love how Fiona has that little crown icon or the emoji on her name.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I wish I was smart enough to have something like that.
That's serious bling.
I was still allowed to change that.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, we were looking at the like you can see in the analytics, kind of where people come from, and there's people logged in from the States where it's like the middle of the night.
Wow.
Well, the early hours of the morning. It's some serious commitment.
Yeah. Well, we got to get our Notion fix in, right? No matter the time, no matter the place.
Michelle, it's not the middle of the night. She's in Sydney. I know where she is. 8 o'clock. It's grandma's middle of the night. Off to bed early. So we've been messing with the time though. I think last time, what did we do, Lennon? 6:30 or something?
Yeah, last time 6:30 to 8 o'clock. I think it was more friendly for people kind of in our time zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you guys both in the same place? Same exact place?
Close.
Yeah, very close.
Down the road. like an hour away.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's in the harsh lockdown zone here in Victoria. He's in the you're only allowed to leave your house for an hour a day.
Wow. What?
Yep. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Tell me more about that.
It's it's rather sad. You can only have one people in one household going to shopping, and then before 8 o'clock everyone has to go back. You can't really go outside of 5 kilometers at the moment, I think.
Yeah, 5 k's from your guys, and there's a curfew.
Yeah, there's a curfew.
Crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's good. You guys are controlling it, hopefully. But it does suck for a lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah.
Lucky you, Fiona.
Yeah.
I see my best friend Carol online. Only took you 3 events to show up here. Thank you. She's in Sydney as well. I might just share my screen.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Application window. Cool. Awesome. So we might kick started. Welcome everyone again. This is our third major event. We've been doing 2 Q&As and 3 events on Crowdcast. This one is about live as a gaming adventure in Notion. We've got Conrad today. Welcome.
Hello.
So we've got a little poll down the screen. If you are first time to Crowdcast, at the bottom of the screen, there's your toolbar. On the right-hand side, you have your little comment section. So we've got a first poll tonight. How long have you been using Notion? Feel free to use that and let us know. Feel free to use the chat and let us know where you are and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see people from all over the world. And it's quite surprising. We're just talking about it just now that we actually got more people outside of Australia joining us, usually on the events, which is fascinating. Also means we need to work harder to get more Aussies here, right?
We're trying to work out what we can do to get Australians, what could be an Australia-specific event, and we didn't come up with any good ideas at all. We were thinking about planning hot Christmas dinners, terrible
barbecues. Cool. Okay, I'll do a little bit of acknowledgement. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I'm hosting this event from War Warren country and pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and future. I also want to acknowledge the current global context with the pandemic and various other movements and challenges being faced around the world. There's a lot going on for everyone at the moment. We're here to support each other, not only in this Notion community, but also the global one. And as this context continues to evolve, we have an opportunity to empower each other, develop shared resilience, and work creatively so we can rise to new challenges. Cool, some housekeeping. So make sure you say something nice in chat. We have this takeaway links at the bottom. Today it's not a Notion page, it's just Conrad's exciting game page. Pay a visit to his page there. Ask a question throughout the event at any time. We just check with Conrad. He's super happy to pause a little bit and answer your question whenever he feels like it. And then we'll definitely park a lot of questions at the end and then make sure there are dedicated time to answer your questions. And it's definitely okay to take a toilet break and take a phone call if you want to. And please give us some feedback via the poll. Towards the end, we'll throw a couple of questions to you and let us know what's your feedback on this event. Cool. Today's agenda, it's super simple and it's super good for Tim and I. It's all Conrad's show today. So during the warm-up at the moment, we'll kick off in 3 minutes. Conrad's gonna show us his exciting gaming project in Notion. And then hopefully 8:50 and onwards, we'll do some Q&As. And again, you can interrupt him at any time using the ask a question or the comments. We'll try to capture your questions. What to expect today? So obviously, Conrad is a superpower Notion user. He also has a community himself on this whole gamification project. So we're definitely in good hands. Everything today, again, is about gamifying your life or your work. What does gamification mean? I'm sure Conrad will give us a bunch of answers to that. And again, with these events, we're trying to show you how powerful Notion could be. And in today's edition, Conrad will actually run through a little bit basics. But don't get freaked out if you feel like it's kind of too much. We always run Q&A session after these major events to get you up to speed. But Conrad's going to do some great explanation today, I'm sure. And finally, just a little bit about ourselves. We're a Notion Australia community, and it's Tim and Lennon teaming it up. We definitely love Notion. That's why we're doing this. Our goal is just trying to connect Notion lovers in Australia and time zone neighbors. And in this case, anyone from anywhere in this world, which is really cool. And a little promotion for ourselves. Our website just kicked live a couple of weeks ago, last week maybe actually. So we've got kind of what's happening in our space. You can always go back to past events. If you're not familiar with the Crowdcast interface, you can come back here, rewatch all the major events. We've got a little bit of FAQs going on. If you are not familiar with Notion or not knowing where to go first, check it out. And then a little spiel about Tim and I. I'm going to quickly scroll through that. And then just feel free to reach us if you want to contribute as a guest speaker like Conrad today. Totally cool. If you want to join us on a Q&A session, and we're thinking about different formats to run it. If you want to be our partners, contributing to our pages, co-hosting events with us, you are definitely welcome. And anything Notion related, send Tim and I an email. We'll get back to you. Cool. I think that's it. I'm going to hand the mic back to Tim.
Nice. Thanks, Lennon. Well, really, I mean, Conrad's going to introduce himself and obviously introduce the concept a whole lot more than I would, but just wanted to say thank you very much for racing here in the cab to make it in time for the session. But yeah, giving us your time and your expertise, we really appreciate it. And we were saying just before we came on air that when you find like an idea that's really interesting and a little bit outside the norm and something that people don't always think about all the time, and an opportunity to kind of explore what Notion's capable of together, it's the perfect topic for a session like this. So yeah, we're really excited to have you, and thanks very much. We'll throw to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the warm introduction. I really appreciate being invited, actually, because it gives me an opportunity to share, something I've been very passionate about. And the like you said, it's almost like the perfect marriage, right? You have a great idea, and then you have a great tool, and how can you put them together to accomplish, pretty cool things? And I somehow I've gotten this kind of, I guess, cult reputation that I do really complex stuff in Notion that is like super like interesting, I guess. But as mentioned before by Lennon, don't worry if I go like a bit complex suddenly. Just let me know. Stop. Tell me what you did just there. Don't let me move forward until I have a chance to explain it, because there's just so many cool things that you could do with Notion that I don't think many people kind of recognize. And it has kind of the opportunity to be more than just like a normal task manager, a normal habit tracker. There's a chance to make it even more exciting. And while Notion's already very, very visually appealing, we all know that, we all decorate with icons, cover images, formulas, whatever. There's more ways to make it even more interesting. So that's kind of what I'll be going through today. And yeah, looking forward to chatting with all you guys and having a great session. So I guess to start, let me share my screen. And then I kind of just want to go through some of the theory behind what we're doing here, just so that I can give you guys a good explanation of why even bother in the first place with gamification. And I think that's a good place to start. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen properly. And I'm going to also drag a window over here. Let me see. And by the way, guys, I want to know, like, are you guys using Notion more for personal or using it more for business? Because there's two very interesting ways you could be using the gamification project that I'll elaborate on. But it'll be really helpful for me to know what you personally use Notion for, because I think it would be meaningful for me to share more about that specific use case. But basically, I think back in November, I had the really big idea that, and essentially, like, it was an idea that was a long time in the making, for like 5-10 years. But basically, I was thinking a lot about how come sometimes we're more motivated to do things than others, right? For example, when we come home after a long day of work, we usually end up sitting on the couch, right, watching TV, or maybe browsing Netflix on our phones in bed. Like, we tend to find those things as fun things to do. And we don't necessarily treat personal development as exciting or interesting, which I thought was really, strange, at least to me. And, my background, I studied neuroscience and psychology. Those were my majors. And essentially, I've always been really fascinated about how I can hack myself to do much more in less time, right? And I was a gamer. I was a very avid gamer, and many of my friends were as well as family members. And the interesting thing was that, no matter what, no matter how non-productive everybody seemed to be in their day-to-day life, they would still very much log on every day to their favorite game, whether it be an RPG or a phone application or any kind of game that you play nowadays, and log in to do the daily quest. Right? You usually have a daily, roulette spinner. You get some loot box rewards, or you might go and do some, small task and enjoy yourself. But there's always that kind of like engagement where people were really excited to go out and do that kind of, gaming, right? So I was like, what if we could essentially make that as interesting as it was when it's a mobile game or a RPG or whatever virtual world you like to immerse yourself in? But what if that was for your personal development? What if every time you finished a task and it contributed towards the greater vision of your goals and your key results and your projects, you end up getting experience points and gold rewards? What if you could map out your entire life in terms of character stats, right? The thing that good games are really good at essentially is being able to map out exactly what are your core competencies, what areas of your character, right, you're good at. What have you built up over time because you have put in the time and effort to build up that skill, right? So how can you build a skill tree, right? How can you never be confused about what you're really good at in life? And how can you find out your weak points so you can grow more, right? And then I started thinking, well, what if the daily habits could be tracked, right? What if you could essentially make it so that every day is a scarce daily opportunity to essentially, level up, improve yourself, do personal developments, learn a language, exercise. If you think about it, we really don't have that many days in our lives, right? We don't really have, we do have a lot. Sorry, I'm not being morbid here, but we have a finite lives, right? So why don't we treat each day as valuable and scarce and an opportunity for us to grow and learn and be better and better ourselves? So essentially, November, I sent out a YouTube video, with a very basic version of the project. You can see like I had an avatar, I had some level rewards. I had like a basic, success plan, I like to call it, where you kept track of your tasks, your projects, your key results, your goals. And as you kept completing those, you would earn experience reports and earn gold. And I also had a very simple daily habit tracker that also earned you experience points. And over time, we ended up having a really big community of people that ended up contributing a lot to the projects. We're over 10,000 downloads, I think, now, and we have a couple thousand people in our community that are just really interested in making work fun so we get more things done. And I have some screenshots here. I'm actually going to go into the project, but I just wanted to give you like a brief view. Is like essentially like, you'd be able to see all your daily tasks as not just boring to-do lists, but actually exciting and engaging quests where you want to finish them on time. Otherwise, your quest master, your quest giver is not going to be so happy. And usually it's yourself. I'm saying that you're giving your own quest and you want to set a time that you want to do it. And then, how important it is to your life that you're going to finish this, how important it is to your greater projects and goals and key results at hand, and how much gold you're going to earn, right? And also when you finish your daily quest, how much percentage are you finished of your day? Like it's really motivating. And I think this is one of the most motivating parts of the project, essentially, is like, no matter what you're working on, you can always kind of see the progression you're having. When you wake up on time, when you make your bed, when you meditate, when you eat breakfast, when you do your today's reflection, when you exercise in the morning, all of a sudden your progress bar jumps up to like 25-30% done, and it's 9 a.m. You feel good about yourself. You feel ready to tackle the day, right? So being able to have a leaderboard where you're essentially not only competing against yourself, but competing with your friends and family. A big problem that I felt, especially in my life, was that I have a lot of close friends and family members that I want to be more aware of what their current everyday struggles are, what their current local battle is, right? And what they've been achieving, what their most recent success was. And almost seems like when we talk, it's just, surface level conversation, unless we go deeper, and then it goes into the whole thing. And then sometimes things they may want to bring up, something they may not want to bring up, right? But using this, like, it's a very meaningful way to be in touch with your friends, family members, community, whoever you care about, and actually know exactly how they're kind of going through life. And so you can know where you can be helpful, where you can essentially place your efforts that says, hey, they're really struggling on this project right now, and this is kind of the research they've done around it, this is kind of the work they've did, and this is how I can supplement them, right? We've also implemented pets. How can you use pets as a way of, like, we talk about positive reinforcements through leveling up, through earning experience, earning gold. How can you use pets to use as a negative reinforcement, right? So if you or all your family members haven't been exercising for the week, or haven't been meditating properly, or maybe you haven't been sleeping on time, maybe your pets end up sleeping and they're not active anymore. And to make your pets active, you got to all start getting, your group accountability, and then you guys can go out and ensure that you are working well and going out there and being the most productive as you can, right? The idea here is that being productive doesn't have to be boring, doesn't have to be stressful, and it can be truly a fun, enjoyable experience. And being able to set up achievements for yourself, right? I'm sure everybody has, things that they want to get done in their lives, and, whether it be, motivating yourself to complete various goals, various outcomes, various key results that you want to solve, whether it be you want to exercise more, reflect more. These are all ways that you can use to incentivize yourself to do more without having to feel guilty about it. Because at the end of the day, these are all positive reinforcements that are inherently, good for you. It's not like I'm rewarding you with, there's a lot of other ways to reward yourself, which are more damaging, but we don't have to go into those. But essentially, like, you can even select your own kind of item shops. What do you want to reward yourself with? Like 30 minutes of TV, ice cream bar, whatever. Like whatever your fancy is, because we're building it in Notion, everything is completely 100% customizable. And the best thing is, there's a very full features free version for you guys to try. We've had much support from a lot of patrons, which is why we're able to set up a version that has a lot more feature sets. But essentially, even the free version is very, very much robust and that you guys can use. And the really cool thing is, like, people have built up their own, themes, right? We've had themes to help you immerse yourself into your favorite fantasy worlds, and I'll go through some of them later if you guys are interested, right? Some people made Stardew Valley, Pokemon. Some people like, TV series like Carmen Sandiego, if you ever watched it on Netflix, So it's really like grown to a project that I'm so proud of, because there's just so many people that have benefited from essentially our sharing and benefited from this whole new way of looking at productivity. And really, I think the core message I want to get across right here is that, this collaborative, huge project was built for, my friends, family, and community to really make work fun and get things done. So if you guys have any interesting questions, I'll be happy to answer them if, Lennon or Tim see a need to. But yeah, otherwise I'll just jump straight into it. Cool.
Conrad, sorry, just to quickly interrupt you. If you don't mind, enlarge your screen a little bit. I think, we just want to see the glory details of things.
Okay. Can you guys see this? Is this enlarged enough? It's a bit laggy if I
don't. Yep, it's getting better.
Is it? Do you want one more large, one more bigger stage? Yeah,
that would be great if it doesn't break.
Right here?
Break the interface. Yes, that's great. Right. Thank you.
Sure. I mean, if it does break, we'll know why. We'll blame you. I joke. No. Anyway, again, main points, 100% customizable. You can choose what milestones award you points or award you gold, how much to award yourself. You can choose if you want to penalize yourself for missing deadlines, and inversely, how much you want to reward yourself for closing tasks early. You can also choose to reward yourself when you complete, 70% of all your goals or all your habits for the day, or only when you complete 100%. It's really all up to you. And of course, there have been many apps out there that have tried to gamify your productivity. But my biggest problem with all of them is that you don't necessarily have a lot of options over customization. And of course, usually when they are offering, that kind of like a SaaS system, right? Just software as a service, essentially you're not able to customize it and then share it with your friends and family, right? What we're doing here is essentially you can have your own private kind of leaderboard with your friends and family, or you can have a public leaderboard with our community. So it's really up to you, however you want to play it. And so let's get straight into it. So essentially, I mentioned a bit, how it could look, and just to give you like a little teaser, I think one that I really like, I like them all actually, I'm not playing favorites, but I saw that someone mentioned they liked the Star Wars, so I guess I can show you Star Wars really quickly. But essentially, we're using the idea is that, that basically you can make your whole view into like into immersing yourself into the fantasy world, like how you would imagine a fantasy world to be. You can kind of rename all your databases, rename sections to be like, almost like the game screen, or in this case, TV series, movies, what have you, and essentially like really feel like you are part of that world and not just, slogging away at your tasks. You can really have fun with it, right? So you see this is submitted by one person in our community, and it's just amazing. I think it's really amazing. And then, just more and more, like it's really like you're inside their own little adventure. And again, that's why it makes it really fascinating and exciting for them to go and finish their task on time, right? And just one more example too, because I thought this one was really cool as well. So this one's Carmen San Diego, and another community member submitted this one where basically, this is kind of their player HUD, and you see it's very different, right? Even the font's very different. And then they kind of like have missions, they separated it all in like little quotes everywhere. Yeah, it's just so cool. But words can't describe, how cool I think this all has been. So yeah, like, just showing it off a little bit. So basically the idea is that you can have a leaderboard. You can either show it like how a normal game would show it, like, a level bar, or you can show it like, how I showed before, a visual view where you kind of can have, even GIFs of your characters. And again, the screen's a bit big, so just to show you guys, but essentially you can see all your players. You can add unlimited players. It's really all up to you. And again, the benefit of this is being the first to know when your family members, or people that you care about accomplish wins in their lives. And I think that's just really meaningful. And I am lagging just a little bit because of the screen share, but bear with me for a second. I'm going to close out of this. Then I'm going to hide this view, going to can you guys still hear me properly though? Like, is my voice still going out?
Yes, we can definitely still
Yeah,
hear
you can. Yeah, just the scrolling and moving stuff, Crowdcast just doesn't cope very well.
Yeah, maybe we gotta find out.
It usually catches up, but
okay. Because I'm moving, and I see that my screen is not moving on the screen share, so that's why I know. That's why I know it's like not really catching up. All right,
it does get there in the end.
Yeah, no, but so this is really cool too. Like, we made it so that your pets can also be active and leveling up with you. So one thing that's some of our community members shared is like they use this for their kids, which is really cool because kids always want pets, right? They're like, okay, well, first let's prove that you're accountable enough to keep a virtual pet alive. And the interesting thing is, like, normally keeping a virtual pet alive, we had those old things. I don't know if you guys remember, like Tamagotchis and like those like old, like, those little game systems, and they weren't necessarily productive for you. Like, kind of fed them, you just kind of poked at it, and then it kind of proves accountability, right? But now you can actually make your kids accountable. They do something like clean up the trash, or they wash dishes, or they cook dinner for a day. That can actually contribute towards them keeping their pet alive and active, and making sure that their pet is leveling up with them, and then it gives them a sense of like ownership as well, right? So this is really for all ages, honestly. Like, kids enjoyed it, adults even enjoy it. We have people in our community 60 plus, right? Really. And then they also like are embracing the whole gamification phenomenon, because they never thought about work as fun. They thought it as like things you got to do. But now that they can actually enjoy what they do, it's really meaningful. I appreciate that. So basically, you can even spend your goal. Like I mentioned, you can, not have to feel guilty anymore for that extra 30 minutes of TV or cheating on your diet, because you've done productive things to then earn that unproductive, moment in your life. And again, I'm not saying that everything has to be in terms of productive or non-productive. I think that's also pretty, a stressful way to live. But I'm just saying that, it's a good way to start framing your mind as like, hey, maybe the things I'm doing for the majority of my life, for 8 hours of my day for work, or for, the rest of the time when I'm at home, maybe I could enjoy the times being spent on improving myself and, achieving what I want to achieve in life. And then, reflections is something that we think is really important. So we created something where, like, almost like a RNG loot box, like a randomizer. So when you finish your reflections at the end of the day, and I'll show you exactly how this works. It's really, really cool, like really, really cool. When you finish your reflections at the end of the day, essentially based on how many daily quests you finished, we randomly generate a reward for you from legendary all the way to common. And essentially you can set your rarity of your rewards, but it's randomized so that if you do more daily quests in your day, if you complete more of your daily habits that you want to get done, you can actually get the more a greater chance of getting the legendary or the epic items that you want to have. And again, these are all just examples. You can add whatever you want. Again, customization's all in your court. I have not seen a single app out there that has given you that much customization before. So really, really cool. You can also, all their earn achievements, being able to create badges to incentivize yourself to do things you're meant to do. Like I mentioned, you can either, do streaks, exercise more than 3 times in a row, once off, meaning that you complete 4 goals in 2020, done, or if you have a very big goal that you really want to motivate yourself on, get a new job, change careers, get fit, anything you really want, that can also be a one-off goal. And maintain is like, maintaining something. So always completing your daily quest, always, ensuring that you're exercising, whatever you want, that's going to be saying like, hey, the second you fall off the wagon or you break the chain, you lose the entire reward. So you're more incentivized to not break the chain. So you see all of this is really like, it's structured in fundamentals. Like I want to be clear is that there's been a lot of research going on to this, 5 to 10 years of my own research, not to mention, our 1,000-member community. And essentially we want to make sure that everything is in line with, proper incentive structures in our lives. Right now there's a lot of incentive structures out there. Let's just say gaming, for example, where they overload, your brain with, endorphins, and, they overload it with dopamine, with little rewards flashing here and there for non-essential tasks that are useful for that game or even for social media, right? Liking things on Facebook, getting likes on Instagram photos and stuff like that. Engagement on their platform is useful for that platform, which is why they reward you for it and they make you feel good about it. But we want to build a system where you're rewarding yourself for things that are good for you, so that you're not really falling into the trap of, hey, these are things that other people care about and not what I care about, right? In this case, platforms and whatnot. So really putting control back into your hands in terms of like, how can you really reframe your mind to be more productive, be more happier, and be more engaged in the work you do. And one thing that's really cool too is like we have something new where party members essentially in our community, we kind of focus on trying to support each other on our daily, weekly wars, and essentially like when we have those kind of weekly meetings, it's really interesting after, really meaningful discussions, we say like, hey, this is a party member that's going to join your quest. Don't forget about the things we talked about here today. Don't forget, whatever interesting thing we talked about, whether it be about productivity, whether it be about getting things done, whether it be about, creative writing, whatever, right? This avatar is going to give you a boost on your experience and gold earnings, which makes you even more productive during the week. So you see, there's like so many little tiny little incentives that really like makes your life a lot more interesting. Like it's a lot less, let's just focus on, checking that checkbox, but more like, what does checking that checkbox mean, and how can we make it so that the more meaningful the checkbox or how more meaningful the item that you're supposed to do, the more you get rewarded for it, something like that. And yeah, so basically, that's kind of a preview into the project. I'd love to take some questions right now, actually, if there are, before I dive into like, a practical example of like, hey, let's set up, a quest, let's set up, a example of going through and leveling up, all those kind of things. I think that was super interesting, but I'd love to kind of tackle you guys' questions first, if there's any. Yeah.
I was just thinking.
Sorry, Tim, you go first.
We shouldn't have 2 guys with a mic.
Oh, I go. Okay. That's fascinating. There's so many things you can customize. I do have a question, Conrad. That how long does an individual usually need to kind of decide or set up this entire system for them?
So this is the fun part. We actually built something I've never seen any other creator do yet, and I think this is something that also Notion kind of officially retweeted us about, is that we have this build your own dashboard where essentially like, so how Notion works is like, the really cool part about Notion, at least in my opinion, is being able to use something called linked views, so that everything is based on linked view. I'm gonna zoom out for a second. It's gonna get a bit small, but bear with me. But essentially like linked views allows you to have a master database that lives somewhere in the system, right, somewhere in the workspace. And essentially, you can generate different views to see the same data, but have different filters and different ways of sorting the data depending on what you need to see. So what I showed you before just there is that there's like a leaderboard database, there is a success plan database, there's a weekly, daily quest database, all sorts of databases, right? And essentially, what we've kind of done is that if you want to start off like an easy mode, you want to start off just a task manager and keep track of your weekly quest, with just basic gamification, you can do that. We have a filter set up so that, let me just try it. Let me show you, right? So let's say we initiate easy mode, right? We want to set up in 5 minutes. We don't want to think about anything more. No problem. We initiate easy mode, immediately generates three linked views for us. We generate the basic success plan, for example. Once we generate that, we can see that we get some detailed instructions as well on how to use it on the left, and the database on the right. And again, this arrow means that it's a linked view. So what happens here is that we enter a new task. Immediately, we can see what gold rewards we get. So enter a new task, example, go on Notion live stream, example, right? Impact pretty high. Let's say this is pretty important. Today is the due date of today. And again, I use the due date, just like how August Bradley does, where this is the day that you do the task. And then if I change the difficulty of it, let's say I change it from 1 to 2, it goes to 100 gold rewards. Change it to 3, it's going to be 150. And the more I get delayed on the task, the more I'm essentially not punctual for it, I'll end up losing gold rewards for it. So I want to do it as fast as I can. So you can see already here, like that's it. I'm set up. I don't need to do anything. I'm already earning gold, right? That took what? Half a minute. and then if I want to finish it, let's say I finished this today. Let's just, for example, I finished this, I drag it down here, boom, it changes to complete, and it assigns the closing date of today, the 26th, and then I earn that 150 gold. And this all works because I have filters controlling everything. Again, the actual success plan database is really big. Like, let me undo that for a second. If I open this up, you'll see that there's a lot of like other properties that helps with the complexity of it, but you don't have to worry about any of that because I've already created the linked views that's specifically showing you what you need to see as a beginner to the project. In the easy mode, you don't need to worry about anything else, right? And for example, let's say, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's set up our weekly quest. Okay, let's generate that. And again, we have really detailed, instructions on the left, even a user guide on how you might add new weekly quests on. But let's say I complete, on Sunday I bought groceries, and then let's say on Monday I mopped, but I mopped even more on Wednesday, bonus points. Whoa, I vacuumed on Tuesday, I did on Thursday, I'm all done. So I have 2 days, 2 all done. And then the third one, bonus points more. I keep adding more bonus points. So you can basically really customize anything that you want and really to any interval that you want. And these are the practical ways of using the system, right? And then let's say finally you're like, okay, cool, I'm earning all this gold, but where it's going to, where is it actually being saved? And it's like, okay, great, let's set up our avatar then. You're ready for that. You've already earned some experience points. Let's see how you can set up your avatar. Well, we click that plus button. It then generates a bunch of stuff. Again, this is the leaderboard we saw earlier. And then we can see that this is our character that's been expanded. And now we can even change our character name. I have a user guide that says, hey, how do you change your name from your avatar to your actual name? How do you, set up your gamification tags, which is how this database works. Actually, there's, a whole other database that does all the math for you so that you don't need to worry about it. And you just need to tag it on. And yeah, it's just really simple. Hopefully that answered your question, Lennon. Yeah.
It definitely does. I think my question was really, I was anticipating that you actually need maybe sit down for 15 or 20 minutes, but it seems like it's kind of as you go instead of I need to come up with a life plan before I can play this game. So that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And so this is where I kind of would add on is when I initially launched this project, I was just thinking of concentrating on the gamification aspect, but then I didn't realize that a lot of people actually were not really good at planning out goals, key results, projects. It's not something we get taught in school. It's not really our fault. In school, we kind of learn to execute. We're kind of trained to be mindless drones. So it's not surprised that, when it comes to intentional thinking, it's a bit tough. So I focused the easy mode, to start off with as, we break down how, we break down, exactly, you have things to do. I'm sure you have a to-do list, saved on Notion, on Todoist, on whatever app you use, right? And let's migrate it here first. Let's help you get those things done. But when you're ready to actually make it meaningful, let's now build intentionality into it. Let's now build, the reason why you're doing it. What is the goal you're trying to achieve? What are the key results that mean that you're successful in achieving that goal? What's the projects that you're going to be, your experiments you're going to continuously start, working on to build towards that vision? And it's just really, really easy. So basically, when you're ready to graduate from easy mode, you can easily just select all the green things from green to green right here. And you can say, I've graduated. Let's delete everything. But don't have to worry, because you're not actually deleting the master database. You're just deleting the view, because we have the same view, but in a more advanced version in the intermediate mode, right? So we generate that. Now it's all ready. We can learn about what the framework was all about that I talked about, where essentially we have the well, can I expand this? Yeah, essentially we have, our success plan, which I've broken down into like the why, what's, and how. And you see that this is actually inspired by both Para by Tiago Forte, as well as OKRs, which was, I guess, conceptualized by IBM, uses it a lot. And I also added in Scrum methodologies, Agile, first principles thinking, which Elon Musk uses. Like, I've digested and distilled a lot of different mindsets and methodologies to come up with this life framework that has been meaningful for me and also our community. But basically, like, I'm breaking it up where, normally we're kind of focused on here, right? Every day is just execution. We're focused on, how we're going to get things done. We have a to-do list and we keep slaving away at it. My intention is that, not only are you going to make it more fun to do the how, but you're also going to bring more meaning to your life by bringing in the what's and the why. Because, and this is where I kind of would go in, is like, where I see a lot of people get job dissatisfaction, or they don't like what they do, or they're not happy at their current role, is because they don't feel like they have power to make change in the company, or they don't feel like they even know what the company is doing. They're just always manually executing like a drone, especially in a company with hundreds of thousands of employees, right? So the idea is that if you always know the why and the what you're chasing after, you can be more creative with the how first, but you can also be more mindful and meaningful of the projects you're going to do, because it doesn't matter how motivated you are to finish something if in the end, when you finish it all, nothing actually gets done. You don't get closer to your goal. You don't get closer to your dreams, your desires. Then it's a bit meaningless, right? So the whole idea is that not only are we helping you make work fun, but we're going to make your life a lot more meaningful because you're working towards something. And then eventually it all boils down to your indefinite areas where, again, as I mentioned, your character stats. And the great thing about character stats in real life versus games is that games have a level cap. Games have a ceiling. You can't level over 100, for example, in many games, right? But in real life, you can go to 250. You can go to infinity and beyond, right? Like, you are your only limitation, at least that's what I believe, in terms of personal growth and development. So, for example, if I have areas like health, if I have areas like mindset, like knowledge, like those are things I'm going to keep upgrading over time. They're indefinite. I'm never going to finish that. And then I'm always just going to keep planning new ways to be successful in each area. So for example, like what we've been able to kind of build is essentially this areas of competence where that's generated, again, step by step, very basic, very easy. I can now define the areas in my life that I want to be good at. These are all the areas in my life I may want to improve. And then this is also doubles as a file storage system. If I open up this knowledge file, and you kind of imagine it as like, you have a cabinet in front of you and, you have this drawer called knowledge, and you open this drawer up and you can see, oh, these are all the goals I'm working on to improve my knowledge. These are all the sub areas, the best practices or the trackers that, kind of are currently keeping track of all the progression I have in this specific area. And these are all the skills and talents I'm working on in this area, right? Which is also a really cool database I can show you guys if you're interested. But basically, like, we've created a very meaningful structure where, I've never lost a document anymore. When I started using Notion, and I think that's something that a lot of people can resonate with, is that you can find stuff a lot easier. You've digitized your brain. You've put, you've literally built a second digital brain into this wonderful tool called Notion that makes it very searchable, that makes it very easy for you to pass on knowledge to your friends and family. Like a lot of us, we have a lot that we want to share, we want to teach others, but by the time we finish the project and by the time we finish achieving what we wanted to achieve, we may not even remember what were the exact inputs that got us there. But because we've made, I guess, data entry a lot more fun, because you're actually inputting data for the sake of having better mental clarity and having better situational kind of awareness in terms of, how am I going to enjoy this? How am I going to make this more fun and, easy to handle? Then you're actually documenting the exact life cycle of everything. For example, I recently released a blog on the exact A to Z of how to build a community, and I have every single milestone that was ever achieved from, January until now, that has helped us be successful in building, what we have now, and being so vibrant and so welcoming and inclusive. And that's been really meaningful because that means that other people can now benefit from what we've achieved, right? And we can pass that on. And what's really useful there is that even for families, right? I've had many situations where my parents tell me some long warbling analogy of why they should do something in this way, not the other way. And I'm sure there was some kind of moral at the end of the story, but I just couldn't, stand through it, right? I didn't understand. The context was different. And the way that they explained it was they didn't even remember the facts themselves. It may just be things that, they came up with after the fact because our memories are not reliable. So what we've been able to do here is kind of immortalize your learning, right? Immortalize all your work that you've put in to build something up, so that when you are completing your projects and chasing your goals, you can really think about it as that you're not just doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for the benefit of people that want to learn from you as well. And I think that's just really, really meaningful. Yeah. I think that was a long-winded answer to that question.
Cool. That's really great. Tim, were you going to say anything?
I was going to ask about how it technically works in Notion, because you've spoken a few times about having a community, do you have everyone working out of the same workspace for that to work, or does everybody have their own version of the template in their Notion workspace? How does it work across the community and individually? There's obviously a template, but how do you do it shared across bigger groups?
Yeah, so usually what we recommend is if you're doing it with just your friends and family, then you should have your own workspace for sure. And then you guys just invite each other to workspace. You can see everything each other is doing. It's very meaningful that way. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So that's what I would recommend generally for if it's a family unit, right? Mm-hmm. For our community, what we've been able to do is we've essentially, we have the space where everyone can use a linked view and then essentially share specific information about just their avatar, and then be able to just show their avatar outputs. And it's not exactly perfect right now, not yet. We're still working on it. So there's sometimes people just post screenshots. People just post, hey, my last week was level 10. Now I'm level 15. This is what I did to get there. And this is what I'm going to share with you guys on how you could achieve the same success as I did. There's that way, but we're also working on a really cool app that's going to plug into the API of Notion so that we can feed in the specific level of data for every one of our members and feed it all into one database. So that's going to be pretty cool. That's what we're working on in the roadmap, but that's going to be a huge project. I'm super excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's amazing. API, huh?
APIs, Notion API. People ask, what are you going to do with it? I have the exact answer. We're going to build a gamified community. Yeah. Yeah. No, but I'm happy to also answer how it works, just briefly diving into, especially for those that like formulas in the community. So we saw the success plan earlier, the really easy version, right? This is the advanced version, and I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but you can kind of see, wow, you can break down everything in terms of your goals. You can see how complete it is based on the downstream items, right? Which is the key results. So we can also show key results. You can see that there's formula showing how late you are, how many days to go, how important it was. You can kind of see what projects you're working on as well.
If you just leave it for a sec, it'll just for us. Just because laggy. Yeah, it doesn't get clear for, sometimes 5 seconds.
Okay, cool. The goals or key results, which one?
Oh, either just, you can't see the detail.
Okay.
Yeah, that's getting better.
I'll slowly like scroll. But yeah, basically like you're able to break it down and essentially you can see like, oh, even the projects are here. Excuse me. And then you can see like, oh, these are projects we're working on. And, finally, these are the tasks which we all know and love. But essentially now we have additional properties, right? And this is where I want to show you guys. So basically what happens is there are three main properties that essentially handle the gamification, at least for the success plan. And I'm also going to talk about for the daily quest as well, because I think that's pretty fun. Essentially, there's a difficulty rating and there's a tag. And also there is the due date and the completion date, right? Essentially, the tag is how many, how much you want to get rewarded for this task. And generally for tasks, I like to categorize them as either 25-minute tasks or 5-minute tasks. So like Pomodoro method, because I like to break everything down into chunks. Now, the difficulty rating is essentially how many multiples of the chunk that you want to do. For example, if something was going to be 3 chunks of 25 minutes, means an hour and a half, you'd use 3, right? Otherwise, you use 2, otherwise you use 1 or whatever to indicate how many chunks of 25 minutes you want to spend on this task. If it was instead a goal or a key result, then you'll notice that, for example, let's open this goal. This goal actually is going to use the tag for a rocket ship, which for me indicates a huge win. So essentially, depending on if you use a goal, a key results, or a task, you can select what kind of tag you want to use to tag it on, to essentially assign that this belongs to this category of win. And you'll see that, and I'll show you this database in a sec. Actually, let me just open it up in a new window for you guys. But essentially, that's one of the big things that calculates towards it. Another thing that I mentioned calculates towards it is the, just going down a sec. And I know you guys are a bit blurry, so just let me know if you can't see what I'm trying to show. But essentially, like based on the due dates and the closing date, we also calculate the punctuality. And what happens is essentially we have a lot of math here. And this, again, I don't expect anybody to reproduce it. We've already done the hard work, so you can enjoy it. You don't need to reproduce it. But there's a lot of math here that kind of says like, hey, what was the difficulty number? What's the progress? What's the multiplier at the end of the day, which is going to be essentially what is the difficulty number, minus the kind of the variable rates. And then the difficulty number also has a bit of information. Is if it's complete, then it's a 1. If it's otherwise, we're going to show the exact number of the difficulty rating. So after all that, what happens is that it feeds into this database called the gamification tags, which basically we show like exactly how much base experience points should each of these tags be worth. And then based on the multiplier that comes in from that database, we now know how much to multiply it by, and then which character to give that experience reward to. So basically, if I change this to my friend or your avatar or whoever else is inside your database, essentially those kind of rewards will go towards them instead. So you can see it's all very flexible, right? You can either set, maybe if one person needs like, assistance, right? So maybe one person gets, double the experience versus you get only half their experience if you get the same kind of task done. It's up to you. You can also choose what awards you gold or not, because for example, sometimes you don't want, like a big win and a huge win indicates like a key results and a goal. Those I think are pretty, like you feel pretty good when you accomplish something. You don't really need gold to incentivize you, so that'll be overload. So I use gold to incentivize me for tasks instead, because those are the things that might be boring at times, right? So this is kind of an example of how it works. And obviously, if I expand this, you're going to get a shock. Let me open this for a second. I expand this, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's so complex, But again, the databases are all there already. You just need to use it, and it's already all done. So another really cool thing I guess I'll show just to wrap up this little bit is the daily quest here, right? And it has the exact same formulas. It does the exact same relation over to that database I just mentioned. But basically, when I complete things here, so right now I'm at 0%, right? So I meditated today. I did today's 5. I exercised, this progress bar keeps going up. I keep feeling good about myself. I ate breakfast. Let's say I ate, cereal, up even more to 50%. Lunch, I ate lunch, I ate ramen, for example. And then that goes up even more. And I keep adding. And eventually, right, when I get to that amounts that I hit 70% or whatever, then I'll the database kind of changes. Should I show you? So let's say I ate dinner as well. I ate, let's say, sushi. Then you see I get a little check mark. I feel good about myself. I've completed 1 milestone for today. And then I can, you see that here, there's, I also have a lot of math here, but again, it shows a multiplier, which then again feeds into the tag, right, with a roll up. And then the tag, gamification tags, now has this information for the daily quest. It also has the information on the multiplier, which multiplies by it. And then it then feeds into the total experience points to give whoever avatar I'm trying to give towards. Yeah.
Cool. It's an amazing example of how powerful it can be if you do the work to understand, what it is that you want to build. Did you run into many hurdles in the sense that, the formulas weren't powerful enough, or the relations and the roll-ups didn't quite do everything you wanted?
Yeah, so there's 2 answers. The first answer is for a tool like Notion that was not built to do this, obviously, I think it's doing a lot already. I think I'm one of the ones pushing the limits. If the servers are ever slow, I apologize. I've been responsible for a lot of optimization in Notion. Let's just say that. But I think for what it's meant to be, this is a really it's impressive that they were able to accommodate all this in these kind of custom formulas. Because on this page alone, I have 10 formulas, right? So I'm impressed. But for my future plans is that because the API is coming out soon, I want to do the math computation off platform, so that doesn't have to be done on Notion. That could be done on a server, and then just return the number back to the system for whoever's using the project. So that's something that we're actively investing into and trying to see how we can be more helpful in that way. Again, it's a passion project that's just geared towards helping each other, and if we can make it as fast as possible and not have any delay. When you're actually doing the tasks and stuff, there's no delay. But of course, when I'm manipulating the database in this page, there may be a bit of lag and stuff like that. So that's the only thing I'd say. It's not as performant as I'd like it to be. But again, I'm pretty satisfied. I wouldn't I've been offered to build it on Coda or Airtable or other apps like that. I wouldn't be bothered. Notion's a pretty good app to build this on. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and just to show you guys a really interesting thing. So basically, this was the dice roll I mentioned. So let's say I finish my reflection today. We friendship, bonding, helpful, whatever. What I do today that I felt good about, went on Notion, crowdcast with my buds, and then essentially we even have cool things what mistakes did I make today? What mistakes should I make? Should I not make again? For example, let's say I, didn't eat my meals on time, right? Meaningful conversations we had, chatted with friends about, ... And then, oops, my keyboard is acting strange. About ... And then, you set your effectiveness. Again, you see your reflections going up. So you're oh, you feel good. You actually want to reflect. You actually want to be mindful, right? Things I'm grateful for, supportive community. I'm always grateful for that. Happiness, you can set a happy face. What can I do tomorrow? That's high leverage. For example, I could, put more goals into my system. For example, what I want to sleep on, how to be more productive. And this essentially, finishes my reflection. So then I finish my reflection. I can go to this site to then roll a dice. So let's just quickly do that for fun, right? Coix3.com/roll20, I believe. And then if we go there, essentially we roll. Let's say we got we had a 17 when we landed. I don't like the 3. Let's get a 12. You shouldn't cheat like that, by the way, yeah? Let's say we put a 12. And then essentially we get a rarity. The rarity was rare. And this was because of the formula that actually puts in like a randomizer as well as the randomizer is a dice roll, and then also factors in how much daily quest we finished, which was 75% today. And then we can choose a reward. We can choose which one's the rare reward that we want to choose. So we get to choose a rare reward. Maybe we want to do like ice cream today, or $5 for online shopping, maybe, right? And then now we have a reward that matches. So like if I picked another reward, let's say I was naughty, right? Let's say I didn't get a epic, but I want to get epic. I want to eat chocolates today. I put that in. Reward doesn't match, and then it'll kind of like nag me about that. So yeah, like really cool things you can do with Notion in that way. And then essentially like now you have like this page that puts like you're 83% done your day, and of course if you actually started your daily quest, for example here you started your daily reflection, it will even auto generate a cover image for you so that it looks all nice and pretty. So here, this is your day. You had friendship, you had bonding, you're helpful, you're happy, you completed your dailies, what you want to do more tomorrow. And yeah, it's just a really meaningful way for you to be both motivated and also intentional about living. Yeah.
So great. I feel like I'm hogging the question time, but I think we might have wowed everybody.
Definitely. Wow.
I've got 4 kids, so I often think about how these kinds of things relate to families. Like, do you have in your community, have you got examples of people using this? Like it strikes me as the old sticker chart on steroids.
On the fridge. Yeah, and then check things off, right? I'm sure
version of that I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, like, so we do have so we have I think right now that group that's trying to do this is around 10 or 15 people, like 10 15 parents that are like actively like trying to make this as meaningful as they can for their kids, and they're updating me every day. Like it's really fun seeing like what their kids are up to.
Yeah.
But basically like it's been meaningful for them to have like, so especially if you have multiple kids, like how do you get them to learn to be accountable for each other, right? Because that's what you want. You want your kids to also stand up for each other, right? So what they did was they built like a badge that essentially said, hey, if everybody eats their vegetables or cleans their room every day or whatever thing that they want them to get done for that, that period of time, essentially everyone gets a reward. Everyone gets this reward as this badge that shows up.
Wow.
And there's been actually like really interesting feedback that's like sometimes there doesn't even need to be a physical reward, like because normally you have to like tease them, hey, I'll give you some candy, you can watch some TV if you finish this, right? No, just the fact that they earned the badge is already really great in terms of their feeling. And that to me I thought was amazing, like and it kind of should be intuitive in a way, because like I mean, just think about Facebook, right? Or Instagram. What do you really get for like 100 likes or 1,000 likes or 100,000 likes? Nothing.
No.
You just get the likes and you feel good about it. So why don't we build that into our lives?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's great. I need to think about implementing it in my own life. Convinced.
Yeah.
Well, the thinking side of it too, that's amazing. Like my kids use Notion a little bit for like homeschooling and little bits and pieces, little databases and stuff. But my boys especially, they would really love that side of it. It would just make a whole bunch of things that are a bit routine just fun.
Yeah. And I think one thing really cool too, I mentioned before, I was going to show this a bit off, was the skills tracker. So like, and this is really meaningful for adult learners too. I think this is really cool, is that we built something called the skills and talent tracker. And the problem statement we were going for was that like, most people don't actually know how skilled they are at something. So we built like a whole database that essentially like tracks your mastery level, like based on the days you practiced it and what you're practicing. So for example, like if today I say I want to practice learning Japanese, it'll actually pull from this database that says, hey, what level am I at? And then what do I need to practice today? Whether it be vocab, grammar, culture, whatever, in each specific, like whether it be conversation about directions or conversation about eating out or reading and writing, whatever. And then essentially it would calculate, am I intermediate level, am I novice, am I basic? And essentially, like, I mean, even in that way, it's gamifying it, right? Like you're actually self-building your learning tree, and then determining at what points are you supposed to do what, so that you're not just relying on, you know, a course or whatever out there, and you're building your own kind of structure in terms of how you need to learn your specific skill sets. Yeah.
Super cool. Hey, we got a question from Finn asking, how can you look back on all your past achievements?
Ooh, yes, that's super fun. Let's show you that. So let me exit out of this. So we built a lot of dashboards just because everybody has different views that they want to see. And I'm like, you know, whatever, right? These are just dashboards. You can use them or not. It's really up to you. So for example, this dashboard here will show you like an overview. So basically, let me just show you. Again, everything's linked views, which is what makes it really powerful. So for example, I can see on this dashboard, if it loads, yeah, so I can see all of this week's wins. These are all the wins I had this week, and I can obviously filter by like month or by year. It's really up to you. These are all my achievements, you know, things I'm really close on or things that I've already achieved, I've earned. I can filter by that. I can see like this week what mistakes I've made, what I've been most grateful for. And the really cool thing too is that you can see, wow, you've been grateful for this for 2 times from when was the last time I did it? So I even have a formula that says since April 20th to August 26th, right? So these are really meaningful insights that I think we kind of lack in our day-to-day. Like obviously we have like a gratitude journal sometimes. Sometimes we kind of think to ourselves, this is really bad, let's fix this next time. But we forget, right? And it's just human nature. We kind of suck at remembering things. So this is a really cool way to kind of extract out the data from your systems and again, make meaningful decisions for the years and whatever to come. And one thing I did is like I held a masterclass a few months ago with my community, and essentially I showed like the true power of it. And the true power is that because we have all these master databases, essentially we can have, you know, the question is like, now that you've put all your data into Notion, how can you use that information to analyze personal trends and conduct meaningful daily, weekly, and quarterly reviews, right? So basically in our daily quests, these are kind of the things we've been tracking: mistakes you've made, mood, happiness, gratefulness. In our success plan, we know how many number of wins in a day, a week, etc. Punctuality. On our finance tracker, we know our budgeting. We know, you know, how much money we've earned that year and that month and whatever, right? So if we choose a hypothesis, you know, I think that my happiness is affected by my punctuality, and I think my punctuality is affected by my wake up time. Well, now we can actually compare that. We can see, oh, these are the times I woke up in August, and I can essentially show that view. Obviously, this is demo data, so we don't have real numbers, but we can see the exact time that we woke up, and then we can see in that time period how much did I get done, and then, you know, we can also see the happiness. The happiness will show up there or not, right? So this is like a really meaningful way for you to like build really interesting views to surface the exact properties that you're comparing, so that you can mix and match anything. Like if you've ever had any kind of hypothesis in your life, it's like, oh, you know, I'm grumpy when I don't get enough sleep. Sure, most people are, but can you prove it, right? And then, you know, or I don't budget well if I'm, you know, stress eating, you know, or, you know, I'm if I'm frustrated about things I'm sleeping on, you know, if I've been kind of restless in my sleep, I don't get as many wins done. You know, those are all really cool things that nobody really knows about themselves, and now we know about ourselves. So just something to share. Yeah.
Finn is loving it in the comments here. I don't know if you can notice it.
Yeah. Yeah, and harnessing it for yourself. I think that's a meaningful thing. Like you're really harnessing this for yourself to determine what you want to figure out. Like, I mean, even you can even figure out like, you know, what books am I reading? And if I complete more books, am I happier? Like you can link up pretty much everything. Like, yeah, there's just so many templates we've had built. We have over 30 templates now that all just range from like, you know, managing your life to, to gamifying it, to being intentional. Like we have many different templates that just help build you up and make sure that everything you do is as meaningful as possible. And yeah, and we've even now brought it to workplaces. Like we've had many startups that now obviously are working remotely and distributed, help them actually be able to engage everybody in the team so that everybody in the team actually knows what needs to be done, and people can work independently. They also know what their teammates are working on, so they don't ever have to feel lost. It's like, are my team members just watching Netflix all day and I'm the only one slaving away? Well, no, you can kind of track their productivity as well, and you can see where they're stuck on. You can be helpful for them, and they can be helpful for you, and things can be worked a lot more efficiently. And for people that normally don't get rewarded, because if you work in sales, it's really easy for you to see like, hey, this is the revenue that comes in because of your work, therefore you get this kind of commission. But what if you're internal staff? What if you're an accountant? What if you're a product manager, your operations, your marketing? You don't really have direct correlation with revenue, but what you do have direct correlation with is company objectives. So if you've helped company objectives, you can now be rewarded proportionally and appropriately because we've tracked that key results. We've tracked that as something that the company wants to strive towards. And we've tracked that you've done meaningful work towards that. So now you can be rewarded first in virtual gold, or in this case, right, virtual bonus points. And then now you can do it in terms of actually enjoying it in terms of monetary, maybe a bonus at the end of the year. So something to think about.
Sorry, I'm just looking at another question from Finn. What's the best way to break complex objectives into smaller milestones?
Great question.
That's a great question. Yeah. Sorry, you
got a course on that?
Yeah, I have a template for that. No, joking.
I'm not surprised if that's true.
I do actually. Okay, so I wasn't planning on talking about this, but this is part of my be intentional kind of framework, which is like basically like, I think about it like this. You have three mindsets you need to put yourself into three mindsets to break up your, like you mentioned, your goals, key results, tasks appropriately. And most people are not really good at this. And again, I mentioned it's because we're not really trained this way, but the three questions you got to really ask is, why am I doing this? What does it mean to succeed? And how can I go about accomplishing this? But each of these questions are best answered by different thinkers. So for example, if you kind of think of it in like, if you think of yourself as like a company, right? The founder kind of comes in and says, we want to be the best in the industry. And being the best in the industry to me means that we're making, $3 million a year. We have, hired 20% of the best people, and we have, 0% churn, whatever, right? And the characteristics is that you have to be inspiring and motivating. These are our big goals. These are our key results. This is what it means to be successful in our big goal of wanting to be the best in the industry. And essentially, you want to think about this every 2 weeks. You don't want to be so big-minded every single day. You're never going to get anything done, but you're going to probably think about that every 2 weeks. And then, when that founder comes in and says all that, you have these, middle level managers that are like, oh my gosh, boss wants this. What can I do? What are our resources? What resources do we have? Well, what projects can we start right now, to achieve that? Oh, boss wants us to make $5 million this year. Well, how close are we there? What project do we have to do? Do we have to do more marketing? Do we have to do more sales? Do we have to, do more ad campaigns? Like, what is happening? Like, what projects do we start to attempt to achieve that key results of getting that $5 million, right? And again, that's like a weekly thing where you're kind of being very analytical. You're saying like, okay, well, this is what needs to be accomplished, but how, right? And what resources do I have? How do I balance it all together? And then finally, it goes down to the doers, right? The project managers. So like, well, now I have so many projects on my plate. My manager says I need to start trying out, ad campaigns. I need to start trying out sales tactics. I need to start doing, maybe improving the app a bit more so that more people are using the app and not churning out. Great. So these are the projects and these are the specific tasks. You're the experimenter. You're the domain expertise in each specific relevant field. And you're going to say, well, based on my research, right, this is probably the best way to tackle this project. And if this project doesn't work, we're going to scrap it and do the next one. Maybe your sales is already capped out. You're already having really great salespeople and they're already doing the best they can. You need to do more marketing instead. You need more leads. Great. So then you go out and you do that project instead. And essentially, like, the idea is that you need to have different mindsets for each part of the planning. And I think that's where people kind of miss it. They try to do everything at one time. I'm going to think about the goal, the key results. I'm going to think about the project that needs to be done. I'm going to think about how to do it, and all in one day. And unfortunately, I don't think even if you're superhuman, you can do all that, because you have to really plan it out. And, I was half joking that there was a template for this, but, there kind of is, where if you open this up, you can kind of see like there is a template for it, where I kind of break it down in terms of like, hey, if you're thinking like a founder, this is your step one, step two, plan out your goals. You can use your areas, like what do you want to improve next based on your fears? What's a primal fear that you can leverage, or based on key results or projects that you never seem to complete? Why have you failed previously, right? And then you kind of have thinking time, you kind of plan out these kind of things, and then you plan out key results. So I do have like kind of a step-by-step guide to help guide you towards that. Again, just based on my experience, running my company, as well as being in all these three roles. Like I've been a founder before, I'm a founder now, I've been a manager, and I've definitely been project manager as well. So basically, there's many different prompts that can help you plan better. Yeah.
That's awesome, Conrad. Thank you. Amazing. My head is full of possibilities and ideas, and feel inspiring.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I was able to share, and I do realize we actually ran over a bit of time, but hopefully that was meaningful for you guys. If you guys do want to find us, like we're actually at this website. It's called coix3.com. I might even type it out in the chat there. This is where our community kind of hangs out. This is where we think about big things and try to get things done. And yeah, you're all free to join us and see how we can collaborate and co-create together.
So good. Awesome. Any final thoughts, Lennon?
No, I'm just taking everything in. I think.
I have to rewatch.
Like one particular thing that's really interesting. Me and my partner have this physical gratitude jar that we throw a paper in every weekend, and now I think I need to digitize that because after we open it, maybe Christmas time, we'll probably just throw away all the papers and stuff. It'd be nice if we can retrace that a couple years down the road. That's one idea I got.
Yeah, that's the thing about digitizing stuff. Like you lose the tactile kind of concrete element to it, but you are able to kind of store it, and hold on to it and resurface it at different times. Like my wife and I were having conversations today about little kids' artwork. They just, like, I've got 2 5-year-old daughters who are at kinder, and they draw and they paint, and even when they're having chill out time, they're painting and drawing. So it's literally like, I don't know, maybe 10 pieces of art a day. My house is not big enough for all that. But yeah, to be able to digitize it and keep it, and store it and then resurface it, with all that extra data that you're keeping, Conrad, in that system, it's super powerful. It'd be fascinating to see after a period of time, like years, what kind of information you'd be able to kind of bring to bear. I imagine that's grown stronger for you as the project's gone on.
Yeah, like, I have 2 answers for that, actually. The first one is like, I think that a lot of people think they know themselves really well, but they don't actually do. And it's just because our brain takes shortcuts, right? Mental shortcuts, and we kind of guess at things and we assume things a lot. So this has definitely helped me kind of understand. Like, for example, I have a funny story. So, I used to, like, for the past 2 months, I started swimming again, and I was swimming like every day. Okay. But then all of a sudden I stopped swimming for 2 weeks, and I only started swimming again just a few days ago. And I was like, why did I stop for that 2-week period? Right. And then my rational brain kind of told me that, it's because you were busy, you're busy with this and that, and that's why you didn't go exercise anymore. And I was like, really? Was that really why I didn't do that? So I went back into my journal entries, right? And I checked out what was the big thing that happened on the last day I swam. and I had hit my head really hard on the side of the pool because I wasn't paying attention. I was doing backstroke, and I just hit my head really hard. And then I guess like whether it be like primal fear or whatever, like I guess that just embedded itself in my head that I should be careful of this exercise activity, right? And I didn't do it for 2 weeks, at least until I healed. But I would have no idea if I didn't have that entry, because my rational brain really convinced me that it was just because I was busy. Yeah. And that was just crazy to me. Like that in itself was a funny example that, our brains lie to us. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So much we could probably talk for hours, but we should probably wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for your time and expertise. We really appreciate it. And look forward to finding ways to kind of collaborate more and continue the journey.
Of course. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. And I'm always eager to have chats, and let's see how we can further the capabilities of Notion together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we'll be in touch soon. We're going to have another Q&A in a couple of weeks, and another major event like this in a month. So stay tuned. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Conrad. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.